everybody. I'm Lee Lord of Narragansett Brewing in Providence, Rhode Island, and this is a bonus episode of the Brewer to Brewer podcast from All About Beer. My guest is Charlie Cummings of Remnant Brewing.
Cummings.
Sorry, Charlie. And he is here for a conversation that goes beyond the brew house and into topics that matter to brewing professionals and curious beer drinkers. First, please visit allaboutbeer.com and follow on social media All About Beer. And to support journalism in the beer space, check out allaboutbeer.com/support. We'll get into the conversation in just a moment, but first this message.
This episode is sponsored by John I. Haas on their new LupoCore Enhanced T90 hop pellets, engineered for peak sensory performance and ultimate peace of mind. Designed for brewers of all sizes, LupoCore delivers consistent sensory outcomes, reliable brewhouse performance, and scalable application across production volumes. Using Sensory Plus selected hops and Haas's advanced pellet processing technology, LupoCore elevates hop expression while reducing brew process loss, all without requiring brewers to change their process. Contact your Haas Sales Representative or visit lupohops.com to learn more.
Today's episode is brought to you by StompStickers.com, trusted by thousands of breweries across the country. They've been printing for over 30 years, and they know beer branding inside and out. Whether you need beer labels, keg collars, coasters, beer boxes, or more, they've got the expertise you need, all backed by a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Try your first run with StompStickers.com and get 15% off with code TRY15. That's TRY15 by visiting StompStickers.com. You're paying too much to process your invoices. Look, it's not your fault. It's just because you're not using PaySmart yet. Most breweries are stuck with platforms designed for general small businesses, not the craft industry. That's why PaySmart was built. It's the new payment solution that is fully integrated into leading brewery software like Ecos and Ollie. That means less time chasing payments, fewer workarounds, and more money saved. Want to see how much you can save? Head over to save.withpaysmart.com to learn more and to claim an incredible launch offer. That's save.withpaysmart.com.
If you were at CBC in Philadelphia, hopefully you stopped by the Senos booth or ran into them at their sponsored events around Philly. For everyone who missed it, Senos announced their latest hardware innovations. Senos is the world's first complete solution for data-driven fermentation management. Real-time, predictive insights directly from your tanks, within reach for every brewery. Catch issues early, save batches, and grow your margins. Brew smarter at Senos.com. That's SENNOS.com.
Welcome, and I'm very pleased to have Charlie Cummings as my guest today. Charlie's been making beer professionally for almost 25 years, including head brewer of Mystic Brewing Company, where he and I happen to share a foxhole. More on that later. And since 2018 at Remnant Brewing in Somerville, Mass. His writing on the wacky, all-encompassing nature of brewing work has been featured on Good Beer Hunting, and in his first book, Craft Brewing May Not Be For You, a memoir detailing life in this uniquely unhinged industry. In his spare time, Charlie enjoys time with his family, playing guitar in Lesser Devils, and shaking hot sauce on nearly everything. Welcome, Charlie.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So as I mentioned, Charlie Cummings and I shared a foxhole at Mystic Brewing Company in Somerville before it went defunct. I, at the time, was working...
Chelsea.
Oh, Chelsea, that's
I'll stop correcting you now.
No,
Sorry.
Never stop. This is my first time interviewing someone I've shared a foxhole with, and it's awesome because they know when to correct me. But I, at the time, was working for Cambridge Brewing Company. Charlie was working for Mystic. And this brewery had a distinct lack of trench drains. We're sitting here right now, for those of you who can't see us, next to the trench drain at Human Robot in Philadelphia during Craft Brewers Conference. And Charlie has been instrumental in helping me grow as a brewer and sort of getting my feet under me and working through all those brew day fuckings that we seem to encounter. My very first solo hot side Cambridge Brewing Company brew that I was doing without the tutelage of my mentor, Will Myers, at the time. Charlie cleared his entire schedule to just be there for the fuckings for me. And that I will never, ever, ever forget. His generosity, his spirit, his attention to quality, and his passion for the craft are second to none. So it's such an honor to have you here with us today.
Thank you, and it's an honor to be here with you too, for sure.
Hell yeah. And some of the stuff we're going to touch on today, I'm just going to launch right into it, is about that human element in beer, because more and more, all of us in pretty much every industry are inundated with what AI can do for you. And beer, I still feel to my bones, is as much about that human element, the human history behind it, the human innovation. So we're gonna be touching on that a lot today. So first off, I just wanted to ask you about what makes Charlie Beers Charlie. What is your approach to a new beer from like an R&D standpoint, grain to glass? How do you conceptualize that? And then what is your personal process to bring that into the world?
Good question. All right, so I would say big picture, myself and Kevin, the lead brewer at Remnant, we make all the beer at Remnant. It's just two of us. And I would say big picture wise, my philosophy is we come up with what we want the beer to taste like first. You know, like you have an image in your head of what you want the beer to taste like. And then you figure out from the knowledge that you have of ingredients and processes how to do that, you know? And that sounds really simple, but it's kind of a different way to look at it than if you're coming up with let's make an alt beer or let's make an American amber ale or something, and then you look up how do you make that type of beer. That's not what we're doing. You know, it might seem like kind of the same thing, but I think it's an important distinction where we're always like coming up with the what do we want the beer to taste like and look like in the glass at the end, not what type of beer it's going to be, you know? And then how do we come up with, you know, using ingredients and processes, like I said, and how do you make that beer happen?
So, like, one of those initial meetings, what does that look like to somebody looking in from the outside? Like, we want to taste something that is light-bodied and crispy with a little noble hop character. Like, can you give us kind of a TLDR on, like, what that initial conception looks like?
Well, I guess sometimes we're doing stuff that's inspired by a certain beer that we might have had somewhere. I mean, we're not trying to copy something, but we might get inspired. For instance, maybe we're going to be working on a French Pils pretty soon because this is pretty delicious.
Hells yeah.
Human robot French Pils here. But I don't know. I guess one example is we just brewed our 1,000th brew actually ever at Remnant Brewing.
Congratulations.
And we called it Grand Cru for the 1,000th brew, and we were like, you know, let's just do something special. And so we came up with, it's nothing like Rodenbach Grand Cru. It's not like a sour, but we came up with like let's just do like an amber Belgian type beer and like with a little bit elevated alcohol content. And again, we're not like saying like, let's brew a Belgian double and look up how do you make that. It's just like, it's like going back to the mentality of homebrewing, I feel like, where you're just like, let's keep a beginner's mind and like, you know, what do we both agreed that would be a cool general idea for something to make, and then like, how do we do that? Well, we have some Cara Red malt lying around. Let's use that. Like, let's use some Vienna malt for a base, you know, and we're not looking up the
BJCP
by numbers
guidelines
and the BJCP, you know, so. And then, you know, sometimes stuff takes a turn not based on what you design. Like, we were going to use the Ardennes yeast for it. Because we were like, we've done a lot of Saisons and stuff, and we're really good at Saisons. They come out great. Have not done a lot of Trappist or other types of Belgian yeasts. And we were like, this would be a good time to do that. And then I figured out how much it would cost to get a pitch from Y Yeast of Ardennes. And we were like, no. So, but you know, that's not to say that the quality is going to be less good. We pivoted and we're like, this is going to be a saison, but we know how to do that well. And now let's focus on exactly what ingredients we want to use.
Yeah.
And we used SOTs and EKG, like old school hops. The hops aren't old, they're old school, mind you. Fresh old school hops. So I guess that's just an example of like the discussion that we went through. Didn't take that much time to figure this out.
Yeah.
But the beer's going to be really cool. It's like in the middle of fermentation right now, so hopefully the bartender that we trained up on how to check gravities doesn't screw anything up while we're in CBC here.
So that's really interesting because the lessening of rigidity where you guys have chosen to is something that I'm trying to impart at Narragansett too, and it's proving to be very hard for me because I am rigid to a fault sometimes. Like BJCP is law. It's like what if it doesn't have to be? What if profitability and personal preference and customer preference took way more of the forefront than the black and white, which is something Pretty Things was very good at. It was something Will Myers was very good at.
Yep.
And this is so refreshing to hear from a brewer standpoint.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So on the flip side of that, you've got your flagships at your brewery. And what measures do you take there to ensure profitability, quality, and consistency there while remaining flexible in whatever areas that you choose?
Well, first of all, we're lucky to be a taproom brewery where most of our business is draft. So our margins are a little bit better than they would be if we were a production brewery doing, so like we can still pay for really good quality hops and use, we use like 3.5 pounds per barrel dry hop on an IPA. That might seem like not a lot to some people, but it is a lot to some other breweries. There's a big scale, and like,
right.
It's all relative, but we're getting a pretty damn potent hop character on our IPAs, and I don't feel compelled to like have to trim that down because profitability, like we can still,
right.
Whereas if we were cranking out mostly cases to go out into distro, and the margin is so much slimmer doing that.
How big is your distro footprint?
Getting smaller by the minute.
I love it. I love it.
No, it's not big. I mean, I think like something very rough would be like, at this point, probably 80-20, like 80% of our beer is sold in our two locations, and mostly on draft, and then like 20% goes out to distro. And
nice.
More of the distro is becoming draft, and less of the distro is becoming cans, just as a trend recently. But yeah.
I love it. So for those of you not from Massachusetts and unfamiliar, Remnant Brewing has their brick and mortar brewery taproom in Somerville, Mass. And then they acquired Atwood's, also in Somerville.
Atwood's is technically in Cambridge, but it's like 100 feet from the border.
They acquired one of the most lauded live music and drink venues in Cambridge. The bar was closing, and Remnant swooped in and made it their own, and that's your satellite tap room, which is ingenious.
Yeah, we call it Remnant Satellite.
It's such a good use of space, and it's such a good transition from something so legendary to something so community-focused and quality-focused. It's amazing.
And shameless plug, my band Lesser Devils is playing there this Friday.
Oh, shit.
First time I will have actually played music.
I'ma go. How do you guys keep a finger on the pulse of your customer base? It's tough, I know.
Again, yeah, it's tough, but again, lucky that we're a taproom focused brewery and we can see it, as you know, like you can see the reaction of the guests in real time, and you can, when that's your model, you can really dial in, you can figure out what works. But I'm also super blessed to be in a city environment in Somerville where the beer drinkers are super open-minded, and we can throw some pretty weird stuff up on draft and it'll fly, like saisons, straight up normal saison sells really well.
Charlie wine.
Yeah, barley wine all the time. Now, I'm not going to pretend barley wine sells well by the metrics, but
It's a smaller pour.
It's worth it to keep on
Yeah.
tap. But we do try to have a barley wine most of the time. But yeah, like we basically do whatever we want. We treat it like art, like mostly
So what you're
like
saying
art.
is you don't keep a finger on the pulse.
Well, we. I shouldn't say it. Like mostly we're treating it like art. We're doing what we want, but we also are obviously paying attention to what sells and stuff, and we want it to be fun for the guests. You know, we're not trying to
Exactly.
do like overly serious exact takes on a traditional style. You know, we're trying to like. We do that sometimes. We put a British bitter on recently where we were trying to do that. But most of what we're doing is we're trying to keep it fun and light and loose on the styles.
Yeah.
And just this will be a fun beer that will sell, and you give it a good name, and our bartenders do a great job of selling the beers.
Yeah. You
talking
guys
about
have
what
an
their
amazing
favorites are.
staff there that are they're involved with so many industry-wide support systems, which is great.
Yep.
But again, what you're telling me is very refreshing because I think everybody talks about nobody can see my quotey fingers except for the people that are here. But the problem that craft beer is facing these days, people could pontificate this in all sorts of ways. Honestly, I think one of the biggest things is we out-douched ourselves. Like, everybody became a cicerone. Everybody became a taster. People were sitting at bars, taking off beers, and not really just enjoying themselves. And it seems like that's what you guys have
Yeah, for
sort
sure.
of kept at the forefront without losing sight of, which I want to see more of
And-
in the industry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you see that here at Human Robot. Like,
Yeah.
looking around this tap room, everyone is just, you know, a lot of these people are brewers, but everyone is just enjoying their time and drinking pilsners and
Yeah.
like
from the flow once you walk in
yeah.
to the list to the food, it's about fun. It's not about any sort of snobbery
Yeah,
or
and the quality is sky high, but there's no snobbery. That's exactly what you want in a beer spot.
right. And beer historically, I'm gonna put on my like history nerd glasses for a second. Like historically, this is a beer for the people, guys. Like, so throughout your career, and remind me again, you worked for Harpoon, and what was your position there?
I worked like every different position in Harpoon. I
You were primarily QC lab, though, right?
at the end, yeah.
Okay.
So the last several years, yeah. I worked there almost 10 years, and I started throwing kegs around on the racker. And,
Yeah.
You know, went to filtration, went to brewhouse, went to bottling line, back to the racker lab, and then I ended up doing like assistant QC manager.
Yeah. So 25 years is a long time to be in this industry. What have been throughout your journey some of your biggest inspirations, from brewers to historical texts to raw ingredients? Like, what are some of the biggest influences on Charlie beer?
I'd say still biggest, like when you put it like that, the biggest influence and biggest inspiration for me was still just going back to the beginning when I first got into craft beer when I was like 21 in the late 90s, and just being able to go into a store and buy any random bottle, buy a mixed 6-pack of, and get like a Thomas Hardy's ale, get like a Schlenkerla.
And a Leather Lips, right?
Yeah,
Leather
like-
Lips IPA.
Yeah, Leather Lips, like old crustacean, whatever. Some
Yeah,
weird,
old
some weird
crustacean.
beers. Get some weird beers and that you didn't know anything about, and try them and get your mind blown, and then be like, I want to make this stuff someday. And then that at the base of it, that's still what drives me. Is that I try to keep that mentality
Yeah.
of like the beginner and.
And how often, like, doing this interview was the catalyst that got me out to Philly, and then I bought my ass a ticket to CBC because I just needed more of that inspiration, more of that, like, brewer collaboration, because I know a lot of times as brewers, we can get stuck in our bubble, sort of. How do you break out of that? Other than
Yeah,
this?
I mean, I think just by kind of reminding yourself and reminding your coworkers to come up with new stuff.
Yeah.
Like, Like you can get. I'm kind of old school where I like the idea of having some of the same beers that are on all the time that people get to know and love. And
For sure.
But you do have to keep yourself from getting too static.
Yeah.
And as you know, even with the beers that you've made a million times and the guests are looking for them and their kind of standards, you still have to keep that in mind even with those, because like the pH of the water will change and you'll have to like change, how much lactic acid you're adding or whatever.
Yeah.
Raw materials change. Like
the biggest thing I'm finding is grain batches now.
Yeah.
And
the extract will change in the grain, the fermentability will change. So you got to be and hops. I mean, maybe the biggest thing for me I've noticed is like,
hop terroir.
You try to get hops from I try to get them from certain suppliers that I know what they're going to be like and not have to figure it out at the last minute and realize you're working with something that tastes totally different than what you thought.
Like cat pissy Citra.
Yeah. F that. We want the stone fruity Citra.
Do you guys contract at all?
Yeah, I actually do a lot more hop contracting than most small breweries do. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm jealous.
Well, yeah, until you realize that you still are paying like 2022 prices when everyone else is paying half that much for spot hops. But at least you know what you're getting, and you're getting good stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what it's going to taste like. That's the most important thing for me.
Right.
But I guess I'm still saying, like, even with the beers you've made a lot of times, you still have to be on your toes, and there's still some creativity that comes in, as you know, to try to keep those beers good.
And some pivoting.
When everything is always changing, and you have to make sure that the delivery people get there on time, and so you don't have to borrow hops from some other brewery that might not have been keeping them that well.
Right. Exactly.
Not that there's anyone like that in the Boston area. But
what would you say, in very, very rough guesstimate, even though I hate that word, I'm sorry, your ratio of returning customers to new customers to your locations is? And you may not know this, being someone
I don't know the ratio.
Back of the house, but
I would say that, like, I think beer-wise, what we're battling against recently as an industry is that most of the people coming in for beer are the same people now. You're not getting a lot of new people for beer. We're trying to. But, it's not such a great evil that we're now selling cocktails, and, like, there's a lot of interest in that. So we're doing dance parties with cocktails themed, and, like, so we're getting new people in the door. They're coming there to drink cocktails and dance, but, like, they hopefully will also drink a Hella Crispy and get into like
that's the
corn
water
lager
break
too,
between cocktails, man. Yeah.
There's the bridge right there. Or like they're gonna try like a berry sour, or something.
Right.
Hopefully. So
right.
that's kind of the strategy now, I think, because it is harder. There's not a lot of new beer customers coming in, I would say.
And I think, and again, just very briefly on this, because people have talked their asses off about it already, but COVID brought a shift, and part of that shift has been verified as being people weren't willing to take the risk. You didn't get so many of those tickers. You got people paying premium prices for a brand they could trust as premium. So for us/you little guys, it became harder and harder to attract those new voices. But finding creative ways like dance nights, cocktail nights to get them in the door.
Yeah, you got to do that.
You got to do that.
Figure it out. Yeah. I've made it this far without making a damn seltzer, so hopefully
that makes
that's
one of
going to
us.
continue.
I mean, I think, and again, this is a lot of my armchair observations, but I think a lot of the future is going to depend on creativity of bringing people in that door. And once you hook those return customers, you got them.
Yeah, it'll turn around and like, you just got to keep making high quality stuff that's fun, like I said earlier. And
right.
It'll even out. There was a little bit of an artificial bubble in hazies, obviously, in the late 2010s, and then it got popped. And so that's part of the reason why everyone is battling to get people in the door now, because it just, in comparison to this crazy bubble that everyone had, where everyone's obsessed with standing in line to get the next hazy that tastes
Dude,
exactly
the
the same
other
as
half
the other
lines
12.
where that guy got shot?
Oh, I didn't even know that. But
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. So I'm just saying some of what people are feeling as like quote pain right now. If you're a brewery, it's really just in relation to what was an artificially inflated beer market.
Sort of. And I think as
There's a lot of
brewers
things going
too, people like brewers for, I don't know, almost the past decade. There it is. Sorry, John. Almost for the past decade, brewers have been like, lagers are coming back. Lagers are going to be the next big thing. And we're like, yeah, but also like, yeah, okay. Now it's reality, and we're like, oh shit, lagers are back. Don't fuck it up. Like,
Yeah, it is finally here. The golden age of lagers is here.
Yeah.
Clearly, what
As
we're drinking right
exemplified
here.
by the place we're drinking lagers right now, which is Human Robot in Philly.
So good.
So good. So on that note, tell me about your lager strategy.
Our lager strategy. Well, so we like to not spund our lagers. We like to not keep any pressure on them. We don't have open fermenters, but I know there's a lot of different philosophies on lagers. But we subscribe to the philosophy that even though we've got conicals, try to like treat it a little bit like an open fermenter where we're not putting any pressure on it. Let it get to the end of fermentation. Give it a rise to a diacetyl rest, a nice long diacetyl rest.
You guys don't filter, correct?
No
Okay.
filtering. We don't find either. So when they get on tap, they got a little bit of a haze.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't worry about that. Within a few days, it's gone. And that's my philosophy. Is kind of like keep no pressure on it, so you don't have issues with sulfur, and then let it mature as long as you can. We do like 5 weeks from brew to when it's on tap. I was just talking to another brewer about this the other day. It's so all over the place in terms of what brewers do. I mean, like some of the better lager breweries, obviously, if you have the space, if you have the tank time for this, you can go 6, 8, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. And that's great. That's awesome. If you have 5 fermenters and you're working in a pretty busy taproom brewery, and you're making IPAs, sours, saisons, session beers, dark beers, lagers, you can't put a lager in a tank for 10 weeks.
Right.
So, but similarly, like there's other breweries that are like, oh yeah, we just do 3 weeks on our lagers or something. I'm like, that's questionable to me. So we try to pick a long enough time where they definitely taste like finished lager when they're on tap. But
I can attest to this.
yeah, and lagers, like I talk about this in my book a little bit, but like lagers were not one of my strong suits when I started Remnant, and now I think it definitely is.
Yeah.
And like we sell a ton of lager.
In terms of recipe development, is it sort of a keep it simple, stupid mentality, or how do you go about that?
I would go back to what I said earlier, where we come up with what do we want this beer to taste like. One of our best selling lager, Hella Crispy, is a corn lager. We call it a corn lager. It's basically like it's kind of like an American Pilsner, but with less hop character, but with using locally grown maize from Valley Malt.
Yeah.
So like it's not a specific style. We're not like let's paint by the numbers and make this exactly what it should be. We thought of what we wanted it to taste like, and then try to make that happen.
Yeah.
So it is pretty simple. That's a pretty simple malt bill, but pretty simple hops.
How do you guys
but
do your corn?
We get this malted maize from Valley Malt, which is in Western Mass, and we don't have to do like a cereal cook or anything on it because it's malted already. It's not. It's not. It doesn't need to be gelatinized or anything. And it smells like when you open the bag of this stuff, it smells like really good quality polenta or something.
Right.
It's like aromatic. It's beautiful.
Their amber maize used to be my secret ingredient, and they
now
discontinued
they have Vienna
it.
maize.
Wait,
Yeah.
shut up.
Yeah, we've used it too. Vienna maize.
Collab?
It's not. Yeah, we could. It's not as dark. It's not as the Vienna maize is kind of almost the same color, I think, as the regular maize, but it's definitely like got more malty, grainy kind of thing. But yeah, like with the exception of our Fest lager, where we're really trying to make that taste like a German, kind of halfway between a Märzen and a Fest beer. With the exception of that beer, most of our lagers are a little bit outside the box, where we're just like, let's do a dry hopped, let's do a lager dry hopped with Australia, New Zealand hops, or whatever. To come up with an idea and then make it taste like that.
So on the opposite end of the spectrum, tell me about a batch of Charlie wine from conceptualization.
Okay, so we don't call it Charlie wine.
I know, that's just a me thing.
But we have a barley wine called Vision Quest, which we've been doing. First few years at Remnant, we did a beer called Ego Death Oat Wine. It was an oat wine. Then I switched
you're insane.
That was a good beer, but it was very light-bodied. We switched to like a more traditional barley wine, sort of 2020-ish. And that is basically based off of homebrew barley wine I used to make a long time ago, pretty much. The philosophy is basically British, mostly British-style barley wine, where I'm taking mostly Maris Otter and like a very small amount of British crystal malt, mostly Maris Otter, and then just like boiling it for 2.5 hours, to get that depth of character.
Yeah.
You can't really get anywhere other way.
So that sounds a lot like a tally-ho from John, who brewed tally-ho? Tally-ho, barley wine.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
English. I don't know. Tally-ho is 100. What? Okay. Tally-ho is a very famous British barley wine. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart.
I should know it, but I don't.
It is 100% Maris Otter, and I have never been brave enough to not use at least 4 specialties. Adnams.
Oh, yeah, totally. I love
Adnams, Tally-ho. My husband's going to kill me for brain farting on that. Yeah.
I've never had that beer, but I've had other beers from them.
I have one in my cellar that's got your name on it then.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, yeah. I've got some old Thomas Hardy's ales and stuff that we can do a barley wine off.
A Charlie wine off.
Yeah. So yeah, this beer Vision Quest, it's designed to be barrel aged. So we do put it in usually Bully Boy Distillery whiskey barrels.
Those are local Boston?
Local Boston distillery, which makes awesome. Their American straight whiskey is kind of more like a rye whiskey. That's usually what we put it in. Which has a little bit less of the hitting you overhead with vanilla notes than a traditional bourbon barrel. But they also make bourbon though, so sometimes we'll use those. Yeah, and then sometimes we have room on our barrel racks for some smaller barrels too. So we'll do like play around with some 30-gallon.
Are you
barrels.
a Fuggles guy? Are you an East Kent Golden
I like
guy?
Fuggles. I'm not going to trash talk Fuggles, but on this particular barley wine, we actually use Michigan-grown Centennial.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so the hops are kind of what you would think would be American style, but by the time it's aged in a barrel for a year, it's not. It doesn't have a huge hop aroma, obviously. That's kind of my philosophy is like, give it a fairly elevated. Like it's supposed, by my calculator, it's like 70 something BUs, but it doesn't taste like that by the time it's been aged in a barrel for a year. Like you design it to age and to barrel age, and it comes out with like toffee notes and dark fruit notes and whiskey notes and everything in balance, and it's really good.
You guys do sours, correct?
Yes.
Tell me about that process.
All right, we do kettle sours. We also do we have this thing called Criadera, which is like a ongoing Solera and red wine barrels that we've been doing since it's our second ever brew in 2018. Went into these barrels and we've just been like Soleraing it. So that's mixed culture with all kinds of different critters. But the kettle sours we do, we use Saison yeast to ferment them, which gives them, I think, that's a trick I learned at Mystic.
Okay.
Because at Mystic, the house yeast was Saison. So when we started doing kettle sours at Mystic, we were like, why not? We'll just use Saison yeast because that's what we have. But I've always thought that kettle sours on their own are kind of gross. Like no one really likes the taste of kettle sours unless they have like crazy amounts of fruit puree in them, which is why everyone just murders them with fruit. But
at which point, why not get a tiki cocktail?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or make a seltzer or something. So, but we're, I think with the Saison yeast, it makes it more wine-like and more balanced, even as a base beer. But we are adding fruit, but we're adding a lot less fruit than a lot of brewers.
I love
so
that.
We're trying to make it balanced and drinkable and fun.
Yeah.
And not too sour, definitely not too sweet. Occasionally we'll add lactose to some of them, but not to make it like a pastry sour, just to balance the sourness, you know?
Right. Right. What do you kettle sour with?
We use lacto blend from Omega.
Okay.
And then we'll reharvest it.
I'm a sour Vissier girl.
Okay.
But
All right. I haven't done that yet.
Still playing with blends because I haven't gotten it to a place where I love it yet. Yeah. But Saison yeast might be the trick now.
You should try it, honestly.
Yeah.
Everyone should try that.
Yeah,
It's a
we've
fun
been
little
blending it
trick.
with the SO5 because on its own it's like teeth melting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't tried the sour Vissier yet, but maybe I should.
It's
Give it a shot.
yeah. Talk to me about your water system.
Oh, we have, I mean, like most of the breweries in the Boston area, we've got Quabbin Reservoir water. It's super good for brewing, pretty low in minerals, and we run
Do you
it
feel
through a
like you
carbon
need
filter.
over corrections a lot?
So it's great water to brew with, and we run it through the carbon filter, and it's beautiful as is. But we do, I use very low amounts of salts. Like my philosophy, my taste in brewing is really low on the salts, sulfate and chloride. So
Right.
shockingly low. You'd be shocked at how little we use. But we do have to use some lactic acid because the pH. The only issue with that water is the pH is high. So and we're making a lot of very light colored beers,
Right.
With low calcium because low salts, and that means that you have to like play a little bit with the acid additions to make sure the pH isn't too high.
Right.
But you have to balance that with like not making it taste tart. You know, like I don't want to taste tartness in the beer, so it's a delicate balance.
Yeah, right.
But that's really the only issue with that
Nothing
water.
you
is
would
the
consider
pH.
adding like acidulated to because it's always shooting.
Well, that's another.
high,
I
or-
could do that. I could
I don't
instead
know.
of adding.
I'm kind of stuck there
Instead of
myself
adding
as
the
a
food-grade
brewer, which
lactic
is why I
acid.
ask.
Yeah, instead of adding the food grade lactic acid, I could do acidulated malt.
But
It's just a question of then I would have to like work that into every single recipe.
Right,
And I
right.
started it doing the other thing, so it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
if it's just how do you want to do it?
It's
you know?
one is a way quicker and less permanent fix.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like acidulated malt. We haven't been doing that.
yeah. Talk to me about finishing your beer, about your quality process. Once a beer is done fermenting, crashed, you're about to carb. What does that look like? What does the end of the grain to glass look
I
for
would
you
say
guys?
like to keep the oxygen out is
Well-
the most important thing, obviously. So purging out your bright tanks in the right way, if you're going to transfer it, which we do, transfer it from fermenter to bright tank, that's got to be purged out thoroughly. You got to purge out the hoses. This is all super obvious, but
I mean, yeah.
there's ways that you can fuck this up for sure.
Ask me
like
how,
even like
yeah.
if you got the beer through the hose and you close the valve, you're about to hook it up to the bright tank. You got to like when you go to clamp that on, you got to like just crack that valve to send a little bit of beer through.
Right.
So that's getting that little tiny like half a square inch of air out of that connection between that matters. Like you're talking
Right.
parts per billion in O2 matters on how the beer is going to taste 3 weeks down the road. So you got to be careful about all that stuff. And then carbonation, we like to try to with most of our beers, we like to try to get the carbonation fairly high in the fermenter, so that by the time we get to the bright tank, it might need a little bit of carbonation with the stone, but not much.
Yeah.
And then like lagers, usually we get it fully carbonated before it even gets to
So
the
by get
bright tank.
carbonation up in the fermenter, you mean let it free rise?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we actually I mean, I said earlier we don't really spoon the lagers, so we do add head pressure with CO2, but then we let the beer carb with the head pressure over weeks.
Which I think was
as it
something
lagers.
I learned alongside you at Mystic, was like you get that tank up to 20 You keep
Well,
bumping
you
it up to 20.
you got yours up to 20. I wasn't going above 15.
I went to 25, ladies and gentlemen.
I think maybe higher.
30. But it carves to 2.52 in 3 days. From an innovation standpoint, what is making you fucking psyched right now?
I mean,
you're gonna learn
sound
a
like
lot
a
of
cop-out answer, but I'm honestly, innovation-wise, I'm excited about that beer that I was telling you about earlier, that Amber Saison for our 1000th brew. But like, I'm just super excited about making all the beers that we regularly make at Remnant, and throwing in, like we just did this bitter with all British ingredients the other day. Other week.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Not
So
that it's porn for me,
I've
but
never
like
used-
it kind of is.
So I knew I was going to like the West Yorkshire yeast.
From who?
That's Timothy Taylor. Yeah, obviously that's going to be a good yeast. Everyone knows that. But I had never used it before. That was actually an Orange Dinosaur at Mystic, but I've never used it in a recipe I designed. But I know, like, Alistair, right? Alistair Hewitt, a great home brewer, lives in the Boston area. He's done a whole bunch of just unbelievable home brews that taste very British with that yeast. So I knew I was going to like it, but I had never used it before. So we decided to use that instead of our house yeast. Our house yeast is a blend of a British strain and an American strain, but we decided to use West Yorkshire yeast and 100% British malts. And
Can you tell me about those? Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm a British malt fanatic.
Simpson's Best Pale Malt was the
Okay.
base, I believe. And because we use crisp Maris Otter in some of our other beers, so we wanted to go different, just an
Right.
equally good but different British base malt. And then I like my bitters on the lighter side color-wise. So pretty small percentage of crystal malt, and I mean, Kevin actually designed this recipe mostly. It's a little bit of Victory malt, a little bit, I'm giving away all your secrets, sorry. A little bit of Victory malt, a little bit of biscuit malt, I believe.
Oh, nice.
Some people would like say that one could sub for the other, but those are completely different malts, but we decided to go with a small amount of each. I think that was the malt bill, basically.
That's amazing.
But keep it light.
And the Fugs?
Goldings, EKG.
Oh, okay.
All EKG.
All right.
Yeah.
I really want to do an IPA called Oops All Fuggles, but that's just me. That beer sounds amazing. I can't wait to try it.
Well, it's almost gone, so we're going to have to make it again. You might not get to try it.
God damn it.
If you come to the show on Friday at Satellite, you could try it.
Okay.
All right.
Deal. Deal. I'll be home by then.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's not, you could argue that's not really innovation, making a British bitter, but it's a new thing for us. We hadn't really done exactly that type of thing before, so.
I mean, nobody also really defines what innovation for any particular brewery is. Like, it could be, we're using this new bioengineered whatever, but innovation to a customer base that, like, probably hasn't tried anything like that or been able to get anything of that origin, of that freshness, is absolutely innovation.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Redbone's already had a cask of it. They got a cask
No,
of it. So,
shut up.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
gotta text me about
Redbones.
these things, man.
All right, I will.
All right, fine. So tell us a little bit about this book you're speaking on
All right.
in a couple days.
Yeah, so I wrote this book, self-published it in late 2024, called Craft Brewing May Not Be For You. And I just felt like no one was really writing from the perspective, or at least no one was writing a book from the perspective of people doing the actual brewing, working in breweries. You know, you see these other, there's quite a few really good books in like the restaurant kitchen industry, you know, like
Kitchen Confidential.
sommeliers. I have 2 books by sommeliers that are kind of in the same vein, but by, you know, by people in the wine industry, like or restaurant industry. So I figured, why isn't anyone doing this for beer? And I tried to talk Jeff Rowe into doing it, because a mutual friend of Lee and I, Jeff Rowe, is he's also in my band, but great writer. He's written some books, and he's a great brewer as well. I've tried to talk him into writing a book, about basically this concept, and I could tell maybe he wasn't going to do it right away. So I was like, I'll take a shot at this. Like, I'd never written a book before. I'd never written barely anything before. So I just kind of started recording some of my experiences. There's a bunch of stories, a bunch of crazy stories.
It's awesome. And for the brewers out there, what brewer hasn't turned to your colleague and been like, we should make a TV show about us. We should write a book about us. Charlie did, and it's hilarious and amazing.
And it's just, I was trying to capture just the bizarre characters and the unique subset of society that is brewers, it's a whole different thing, as we all know. So it's called Craft Brewing May Not Be For You, and I changed names and places for the first half of the book, so I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus, but yeah, it's available on lulu.com/shop if you want to buy it from an independent bookstore online, or if you're in the Boston or Massachusetts area, there's a bunch of breweries and bookstores that sell it. And I think you can also get it on some of the larger platforms online, but I'm not going to advertise those. I have an event at Local 44 Bottle Shop on Wednesday night. Anyone that's here, come by. It's 6 to 8 o'clock. And it's also in conjunction with Forest and Maine, so they're going to be doing a tasting. It's going to be awesome. I'll have a bunch of books to sell and do some reading and some signing. Yeah, put my author hat on.
I love it. You wear so many hats.
Too
many hats.
Too many.
Especially the I'm sorry hat. We call him Sorry Charlie because he's so polite and so nice, even in the thickest brewery fucking shit you can imagine. Charlie will walk by you and say sorry.
You used to accuse me of being Canadian.
Yep. So we call him Sorry Charlie because he's just so damn nice. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. And that's going to do it for our show today. Thank you.
Thanks. This is awesome.
Visit allaboutbeer.com and follow on social media at allaboutbeer. To support journalism in the beer space, check out allaboutbeer.com/support. I'm Lee Lord of Narragansett. Thank you for listening to Brewer to Brewer podcast.
This episode is sponsored by John I. Haas on their new LupoCore Enhanced T90 hop pellets, engineered for peak sensory performance and ultimate peace of mind. Designed for brewers of all sizes, LupoCore delivers consistent sensory outcomes, reliable brewhouse performance, and scalable application across production volumes. Using Sensory Plus selected hops and Haas's advanced pellet processing technology, LupoCore elevates hop expression while reducing brew process loss, all without requiring brewers to change their process. Contact your Haas Sales Representative or visit lupohops.com to learn more.
Today's episode is brought to you by stompstickers.com, trusted by thousands of breweries across the country. They've been printing for over 30 years, and they know beer branding inside and out. Whether you need beer labels, keg collars, coasters, beer boxes, or more, they've got the expertise you need, all backed by a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Try your first run with stompstickers.com and get 15% off with code TRY15. That's TRY15 by visiting stompstickers.com. You're paying too much to process your invoices. Look, it's not your fault. It's just because you're not using PaySmart yet. Most breweries are stuck with platforms designed for general small businesses, not the craft industry. That's why PaySmart was built. It's the new payment solution that is fully integrated into leading brewery software like Ecos and Ollie. That means less time chasing payments, fewer workarounds, and more money saved. Want to see how much you can save? Head over to save.withpaysmart.com to learn more and to claim an incredible launch offer. That's save.withpaysmart.com.
If you were at CBC in Philadelphia, hopefully you stopped by the Senos booth or ran into them at their sponsored events around Philly. For everyone who missed it, Senos announced their latest hardware innovations. Senos is the world's first complete solution for data-driven fermentation management. Real-time, predictive insights directly from your tanks, within reach for every brewery. Catch issues early, save batches, and grow your margins. Brew smarter at senos.com. That's SENNOS.com.